In the busy hallways of a high school, a social worker overhears a conversation between two young black students. Listening to their exchange, she notices that they repeatedly address each other using the N word. Surprised and visibly uncomfortable, she intervenes to ask them to stop using that term. The two teenagers, somewhat defensive, almost instinctively respond, "We are black, ma'am. We have the right." However, unable to explain why they thought they had the right, it was at this precise moment that the worker realized that the young people at the school needed to be educated on this issue. Aware of her own limitations in addressing such a topic, she then began to search, with the support of the school administration, for a speaker capable of discussing it with young people in the classrooms with accuracy, nuance, and pedagogy. That is how my name was suggested to her. Throughout this video, I take the opportunity to revisit this important topic and to offer an educational and nuanced approach. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Deconstructing Common Ideas with Christian Du, the place where learning differently, thinking outside the box becomes a habit, and where knowledge of hidden things is revealed. Today, I invite you to join me in a reflection around a word as taboo as it is charged, the word nigger. A word heavy with history, pain, but also sometimes reappropriation, as we will see throughout our presentation. Stay connected. Welcome to this capsule titled, Let's Demystify the N-Word. So what is the word starting with N or N-word in English? It is a euphemistic way of referring to the racist word nigger without having to pronounce it. It is an extremely offensive term in the English-speaking world. If we say the N-word instead of pronouncing it, it's because this word was imposed on black people by white people as a label of contempt. Racist insult, it has been used for centuries to humiliate, belittle, violence, and dehumanize black people, particularly during slavery, racial segregation, and even today in contexts of hatred or racist discrimination. Pronouncing it, especially by a white person, can revive traumatic historical memories in a black person or even trigger conflicts. The word carries such a heavy historical burden that it is now taboo in almost all public, educational, and media spaces in the United States, Canada, and in predominantly Anglo-Saxon cultural contexts. Over time, however, some blacks decided to reclaim this word by transforming it. Nigger has thus become nigger in the mouths of some young people, and it is precisely this contemporary usage that the social worker was surprised to find in the hallways of this high school. My goal here, for educational purposes, is to inform you about the origin of these terms, especially nègre in French, nigger, and nigger in English, and to explain their nuances. Let's start with the origins of these words. The words nègre in French and nigger in English both originate from the Latin niger, which means black. Through Spanish Negro, these terms spread during the era of the slave trade to refer to people of African descent who were deported into slavery. In French, the word nègre appears as early as the 16th century, initially to describe the black color. For example, they spoke of encre nègre or black ink to refer to a very dark shade. Then very quickly during the same century, the term came to refer to a person of African origin, particularly in the context of the slave trade and the colonial slavery system. It is in this usage that it gradually acquired a racial and dehumanizing connotation. It was quickly associated with the status of a black slave, to the point that in 18th century dictionaries, the term nègre was equivalent to slave. Similarly, nigger in English was used by colonists and slaveholders to pejoratively refer to black people in servitude. It became the quintessential racial insult from the 19th century onward. Used extensively by slaveholders and later by segregationists, nigger carries a legacy of violence, oppression, and contempt towards black individuals. Even today, it is considered a taboo term to the extent that English speakers have replaced it with, as we have seen, the expression the N-word. The word nigger is unanimously condemned as a virulent racial insult. It should never be spoken outside of a historical or educational context, except perhaps when used by members of the black community themselves who have reclaimed it to make it something positive. And it is precisely because I am a speaker belonging to this community that I have been deemed legitimate to address the issue in schools, and that I am doing so in this video. About reappropriation. From the early 20th century, it was observed that the word nigger was sometimes used freely within the African American community itself. However, it is mainly in the 80s and 90s that this term evolved to give birth to nigger. Spelled N-I-G-G-A, this term has been adopted by some segments of American black youth, particularly through hip-hop culture and rap. Nigger has then become a marker of identity, brotherhood, or solidarity among young black people. Its usage is intended to be familiar, even affectionate. Linguist Jacqueline Rahman has documented the emergence of nigger in African American lexicon, where this term serves as a synonym for my buddy, my guy, or dude among black people. When the two high school students tell the social worker that they have the right to use this word, they perceive it as a harmless slang term, as long as it is used between them. The word nègre has also been positively reclaimed, this time by French-speaking black intellectuals in the 20th century. In the 1930s, a literary and political movement called Négritude was founded by Aimé Césaire from Martinique, Léopold Sédar Senghor from Senegal, and Léon Gontran Damas from French Guiana, with the goal of proudly asserting black identity. These thinkers deliberately used the word nègre to make it a symbol of African heritage and solidarity in the face of colonialism. Like Cheikh Anta Diop, who, in his work Nation Nègre et Culture, I quote, "The core of the Egyptian population was black during the pre-dynastic period. The Négritude movement wanted first to rehabilitate black culture, to restore the dignity of African civilizations, often silenced or caricatured in colonial narratives." Next, the movement aimed to deconstruct colonialist and racist discourses. Those who, for centuries, associated darkness with inferiority. Say it loud and clear. Being black is not being less than. It is being fully human, with a history, a culture, a pride. The movement also wanted to create a francophone black literature, a literature that speaks with its own voice, that does not copy dominant models, but expresses the black condition from within, in its own words. Finally, the movement aimed to weave bonds of solidarity among blacks worldwide, Africans, Antillians, African Americans, etc. It wanted to create a universal black brotherhood, beyond borders, beyond oceans. Césaire will write, for example, I quote, "Négritude results from an active and offensive attitude of the mind. It is a jump and a jump of dignity, affirming loudly and proudly his condition as a Negro without shame." The Négritude movement thus transformed the word nègre, once a wound of history, into a banner of pride without ignoring the painful burden it continues to carry. By coining the term négritude, these authors in a way reversed the stigma. What was once an insult has become a source of identity affirmation and artistic creation. Nonetheless, outside of these specific literary and activist contexts, the word nègre remains an explosive term to be handled with extreme caution. Remember, August 17th, 2020, in the program Le 15 à 18, the columnist Simon Jaudoin, who is white, mentioned, in a context of historical and literary analysis, the title of a work that contains the word nègre, namely Les Nègres Blancs d'Amérique by Pierre Vallière. Ricardo Lamour, a black listener, felt deeply uncomfortable and stigmatized. Hearing this word from the mouths of two white people, according to his own words, completely destabilized him. Grabbing the ombudsman, he concluded that even though this word is an incorrect and deeply offensive term, it can be tolerated in certain contexts, for example, to cite the title of a work or to denounce discrimination, but only if caution is exercised, the audience's sensitivity is respected, and it is properly placed in its context. Through this example, you understand how explosive the use of this word can be. For my part, I could say I benefit from an immunity. Today, most members of the black community who use the word nigger do so exclusively within an intra-community context. An implicit rule has been established. Only black people are allowed to freely use nigger among themselves, as a synonym for guy or brother, while anyone outside the black community must refrain from doing so. Employed by a white or non-black person towards a black person, the word immediately becomes offensive again because it recalls the insult nigger and constitutes an inappropriate form of cultural appropriation. Even when spoken without racist intent, it is generally perceived very poorly if it comes from a non-black person. In the French public, the historical context of this word is often poorly understood or underestimated. Thus, some non-black rappers have been able to use the terms nigger or negro in their songs without causing immediate scandal, due to a lack of sufficient awareness about the origin and significance of these words. Despite internal appropriation within the black community, nigger remains a highly controversial word, and this is true even among black people themselves. Some see it as a symbol of brotherhood, a way to turn an insult into strength, while others believe that, regardless of spelling or tone, this word remains too loaded with history, too painful to be used, even among us. As we have just seen, the word starting with N is not like other words. Its use remains painful or shocking for many people, including within the black community. Nevertheless, the case of these two young black individuals calling each other nigger illustrates a cultural phenomenon of partial normalization of a historically insulting term through its reappropriation by those it once targeted. Personally, I hate its use by anyone. Not because I feel insulted, but because I find it ugly, nothing more. Anyway, not using the word nigger will not make racial slurs disappear overnight. However, knowledge is a powerful weapon. It helps us turn the pain of the past into awareness for the future. Thus, educating young people on this issue, especially young black people, is giving them the means to make informed choices. By learning the history of the words nègre and nigger, everyone can understand their significance and the importance of respect in the language used. We are coming to the end of this video capsule, and I hope it has been informative enough for you. As I usually say, to paraphrase Sacha Bujema, knowledge is the only thing you can share without ever losing anything. If you want to delve deeper into these topics, organize training, or invite me for a conference at your school, company, or community, contact me. I would be happy to connect with you. Thank you for taking the time to learn with me, and see you in the next video.